Welcome, guys, to your weekly Double H Q&A. Let us now go right in. But again, as I say every week, for those of you who have not yet sent in a question, you simply head to the website halfhopefootballhot.com. You scroll down and you put in your name, your email, all of that stuff, and then you go ahead and you answer. And it's going to be anything football related or non-football related. I'm happy and free to answer any kind of question. From Shad Huddle, this is a close one, but how would you rank Van Persie, Van Nistelrooy, and Huntelaar on finishing ability? For me, it's Van Nistelrooy, Van Persie, Huntelaar. With volleys, Van Persie is definitely number one. As far as finishing, I would argue Huntelaar, because Van Nistelrooy is only good from close range, and you have to say to yourself that Huntelaar spent a lot of time at Schalke. What if Huntelaar was at United playing under Ferguson, his coaching, and with those players they had at United? How well good would he have been? I think Van Persie definitely was the best player out of all of them, just as far as technique. But I think as far as finishing, I would argue it's Huntelaar. But the reason why you would not say a lot about Huntelaar is because he just did not play for a great team. Following Babalola, dear HH, I believe that a great villain believes he's a hero in his own world. As example, Killmonger and Thanos. Do you agree? Also, what do you think will happen in the next Avengers film? Apparently, it's called Avengers Endgame, which obviously makes sense. Which first, okay, so I'm not gonna, because again, there may have been people who haven't actually seen the new Avengers film, so I don't want to really do that based on spoilers, but I want to just look at he talks about, for me, do you know what, I have a different take of a great villain, because I don't really think a great villain necessarily is someone who thinks he's a hero. For me, the best villains for me are Sauron, Darth Vader before Return of the Jedi, maybe even the Joker, and a shout out to what's it called? I think it's Indio in A Few Dollars More. Fantastic performance by Gian Maria Volonte. I think the best villains for me are pure evil. They're people who obviously they have a direct input, they just represent all that is bad and evil, because I think that is just such a fascinating thing. Because before Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader was just this evil dude, and in Empire Strikes Back he just took it to the max, and that's why he's seen as such an amazing villain, because he was so compelled by this machine stroke personable kind of dude who was just so evil. So I think, for me personally, I just think really the best villains are the ones who you don't actually know a lot about, you know very little about, and you get a hint about what they're about, but they just represent all that is bad and evil. I think those are the best villains. From Zenith Lecky, hey Halfop, how's it going? I wanted to ask you who's been the biggest brick in a Serie A this season, and who has a better beard, De Rossi, Isco, or Giroud? I think no, Giroud has the best beard. De Rossi is a close second. I think Giroud has the best beard. It's like the God of War beard. The biggest brick in the Serie A this season, Abate. I mean, you could argue Abate. Who else? Higuain has tended to be a brick. I'll say Higuain has definitely tended to be a brick. Candreva. It might be Candreva, because the reason why I say Candreva is because he has so much potential. He has so much ability, but there are just some games where I see that this dude looks like if he's never played football in his life. So I would say Candreva because of the kind of ability that he should have. John James Maxwell, I have some questions for you. Who is your favorite rapper, Tupac or Biggie Smalls? Actually, neither of them are my favorite rapper, but I have to pick between Tupac or Biggie. It's impossible because they are different. If I want just lyrical skill, I go for Biggie Smalls. If I want a message and meaning, I go to Tupac. Well, the much more philosophical Tupac. Who is the GOAT of rappers in your opinion? That's impossible. There are too many to say, but put it this way. As far as just message and his ability to get his message across, I would argue it's KRS-One. Because KRS-One got his message across a lot more consistently than Tupac, who was amazing and then did some thug stuff which did not really make any sense. As far as just technical ability, just pure technical ability, for me, it's a toss-up between Pheromone and Cannabis. For me, I don't think there's anybody that has been on the lyrical level of Cannabis. As in, Cannabis, his level just lyrically is frightening. But for me, Pheromone, as far as just sort of really experimenting on the English language within rhythm and flow and just what you can do with your vocal cords and vocal ability, I think what Pheromone does it doesn't even make sense. It's out of this world. And you got to look at Snoop Dogg, you got to look at Common, you got to look at Chino Excel and all of those other guys as well. So no, they're a lot of dudes, man. AZ as well. For me, I would say AZ is a huge shot. I think for me, AZ has to be one of the most unique rap voices and one of the most unique rap styles I've ever seen in rap. Like literally, his rap style is just unique. No one else has it. If they do, they've stolen it. Bruno Alves. What do you think of Wolverhampton winning the championship under Nuno Espirito Santo, obviously your Portuguese boy? And do you think they will do well in the Premier League next year? Also, what do you think of Ruben Neves? He's the best player, only 21, was captain in the Champions League for Porto at only 18. People compare him to Pirlo and Xabi Alonso. If you don't know him, check him out and answer on Twitter. Thank you and keep up the good work. For me, I've heard a lot about Ruben Neves, like the kind of goals he scored, but also his passing abilities. I think, he looks really good and has definitely been important for Wolves has done so well. And for me, look, I think he's a very good manager. I remember when he left Valencia, and I think it wasn't because they were doing badly. I think he just had some beef with the owners or something, but he was still doing well with Valencia. So I think he's a very good manager, and 100%, I think Wolves, I think they could get 10th. I think there's a really good chance that they could definitely get top 10 because they've got a very good coach in Nuno Espirito. Kwame Adu 007. Hey, Halfo, been watching your channel for a couple of months. Love the channel. Thank you. Definitely my favorite football analysis on YouTube. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work, bro. I shall try. The question for the Q&A is, what would your all-time African 11 be? Okay, this is a bit hard because it's hard for me to give an 11 because, again, you just catch me off guard. But just off the top of my head, I would argue Dosu as a keeper. I'm just going to reel off the defenders. You've got to look at Uche Okuchukwu. Got to look at perhaps Rigobert Song. There was that, and this Ghanaian guy who was a Ghanaian captain. I think the Ghanaian captain in 2010. I've forgotten his name. Celestin Babayaro. And when we look at midfielders, I mean, you could look at some of the Egyptian midfielders who did that run. I think, Mohamed Zidane. I've got to look at him. You've got to look at Okocha. You've got to look at, my gosh, Essien, Finidi George, Yaya Toure, Keita, who played for Ivory Coast as well, very good player. The Keita for Ivory Coast and also the Keita as well from Mali. And when you look at strikers, I mean, you've got Kano, you've got Patrick Mboma, one of the most underrated strikers ever. I think I'm Munike. So I think it's very hard. I think, there are a lot of names. I think that's something I need to really think about before I give them. But I think definitely names that really come out at me as like Uche Okuchukwu, the Ghanaian defender, I've forgotten his name. He was the captain in 2010. And also the other Ghanaian defender, I've forgotten his name as well, who was Sami Kufo. So Sami Kufo, Uche Okuchukwu, the Ghanaian guy. Essien, Okocha, Finidi George, Yaya Toure, the Keita of Ivory Coast, Keita of Mali, my gosh, what's it called? Roger Miller, flipping Tony Yeboah. I mean, look, there are a lot of names, man. A lot of names. Karate Kid. Am I the only one who thinks Ivanovic is highly underrated? He was a rock for Chelsea. No, he wasn't underrated. He was a decent defender, but wasn't underrated. He did his job, but no, I'll definitely not say he was underrated. Okay, let's see. So Dylan Holmes, hey HH, who do you think has been the best signings this season outside of the top 6 clubs? I'd go for Arnautovic, Harry Maguire, and Tarkowski from Burnley. but so I think you're obviously looking at the Premier League. So outside of the top six, I don't know. I think Arnautovic for West Ham, he started a bit slow, but I think he definitely has done very well for West Ham. Very well for West Ham. Um, I think Everton got a dude that did really well. I can't remember who it was. I think Everton got a really good dude for them. But I think if I had to pick, I'd definitely go for Arnautovic. Because of the kind of even if West Ham are struggling, I think he has scored some key goals, and I think if the struggles of West Ham hasn't really been down to him, I think it's just been down to the team and the way that they've really been playing. So it's not really been his fault. Okay. I was trying to rush through these. Sorry. Okay. Kavish Berger. Is it true to say that this season there has been no standout striker? The Cannonball is basically through one goal in the Champions League. Lewandowski and Christie didn't show up in the semis, and Harry Lim is alright. Is this the year of the midfielders? For me, I think Cristiano has still scored some key goals, even if he doesn't really define himself specifically as a striker. I thought Jesus has had a pretty good season. I think Aguero has had a pretty good season as well. But yeah, I think you don't look at the midfielders. I mean, I wouldn't call Salah a midfielder. I'd call him an attacking winger. So I think as far as strikers, I think domestically they've done well. But I don't think like they've really done well in Europe. So yeah, I think there's definitely been more of the midfielders, De Bruyne, Salah, and so forth. Calciopoli, I think it's from Jimmy Lombardo. I cannot be the only one who has seen how suspect the refereeing has been this season. It's almost as if UEFA or FIFA are trying to rig games in order for such results, and this has been reflected in Juventus' game against Inter, Napoli against Fiorentina, and also Liverpool and Madrid rose to the final, where Madrid had numerous decisions against whoever the opponents are, such as Bayern, Juve, and PSG, and the exact same with Liverpool, where Roma and to a lesser extent even City were extremely hard done by with obvious offsides given in favour of Liverpool. Would you agree that the referees this season have had a big hand in the results we have this season? I don't think it's been as bad as last season. I think there's been some dodgy referee results, but I think the ones that you mentioned, I don't think have been really that big. I think last season it was a much more of a bigger problem. Shane Schubert, if Germany somehow managed to earn a 5th star above their badge this summer, how do you think you would compare them to Brazil in terms of all-time historical achievements and significance? Personally, I feel that Brazil will always be the greatest footballing nation, but I think there's already an argument that could be made that Germany have been the most consistent, dominant national side. Thank you for your thoughts. You pretty much answered my question. I think Brazil will always be seen as the definitive footballing nation, but if you look at the record, Germany are the best performing international team. Because if you look at the fact they've won 4 World Cups, and I'll probably forget this, finalists in 1966, they were finalists in 1986, they were finalists in 2002. That's pretty amazing. And you look at how semi-finalists in 2010, semi-finalists in 2006. So, and I'm probably missing me. So Germany have been the best performing team. I think if they were to get a 5th World Cup, I think it'd still be the same. They would still be the best performing team in the World Cup, but Brazil will still be the team who have produced the best teams and the best players. Yeah. Yard, hey HH, what are your thoughts on the controversies that have surrounded Bill Cosby the last few years? And has it changed your opinion of him, what it was before? And also, what do you think of the Cosby Show? Let's see, Cosby Show, very influential. I watched it when I was young, so it formed a very huge part of my life. My thing is this here with the whole Bill Cosby thing. Again, if it is true of what happened, because the thing about this is that I don't know the details, because people talk about the time he was living in, the kinds of things that happened and so forth. But if it is true what happened, he did those things, of course it's bad. Does it change my view towards Bill Cosby? No. Because again, he's done so much good, and he has been so influential that I'm like, look, man, I can't now just say he's this loser and this idiot. For me, and I think that there are things that people have done that is worse. What he did isn't good. It is bad. But what R. Kelly's been accused of is worse. What flipping Polanski's accused of is even worse. Okay, because you're now dealing with minors. Yes, doing anything bad is bad to anybody. But when you now start messing with, for me, I cross the line. When it gets to children, that's when I'm like, I have zero tolerance. I don't even want to hear any excuses. Once you mess with children, which is what Polanski did, and what R. Kelly has been doing, that's when I say you definitely have crossed the line. But for Bill Cosby, look, yeah, it is what it is. But again, it doesn't change my view on how influential he has been. From Kalem, hey HH, if Liverpool were to win the Champions League, would you say they've had the best season out of all the English clubs, including City? Hard to say, because City have still had a superb season. So even if Liverpool won the Champions League, I don't think you would say that they had a better season than City. I just think they would have had two amazing seasons, but for different reasons. And if the rumors are true, where do you think Pogba should go, and where would he go down as a flop as United if he left this summer? I would say he's a flop. I just say it wouldn't be a right fit, and I think maybe PSG, either back to Juventus or to PSG. I think is where he would probably go. Max Okundov, hey HH, do you think that football has a steroid problem? Personally, I think that Messi, Salah, Neuer are one of the players that are juicing. Okay. When you look at them, you tend to ask questions such as the saves that Neuer made against Walcott and Ozil in the same game. I even remember you calling him an alien after those saves. There's been rumors that he's getting checks for doping on Salah's incredible and unexplainable season. Me and you are the only people who think he's taking drugs. Yeah, I think he's taking drugs. Or the Messi who keeps on getting hits, but I don't remember him ever being subbed due to injury or cramps. Something that we fans don't know, and I think football is better than we fans think. What's your take on my theory? I don't know. But it is something that I definitely find intriguing, because I'm like, as you said, Messi has hardly ever been injured. I can remember the last time that the guy had like a long-term injury, and we look at how often he plays, how hard he plays, and how much he's involved. It doesn't make any sense that he's not injured. So, but again, I just don't know. I can't really give a call on that. From Brownie, hey, HH Big Up Fam, what were the football boots you wore back in the day of your playing days? Mine were the Adidas Power Swerve of 2008 and the Mercurial Vapor of 2009. But my favorites were the Nike Tempos, thanks to a certain Ronaldinho. Also, which boots of yours was your favorite? Well, I wore the Adoras. The Adoras were always my boots because I was obsessed with the Syria, and those Diadora boots were obviously the big boots. My favorites was probably my red Diadoras. So, because I had white Diadoras and I had red Diadoras, but I think the best football I played was with my red Diadoras, man. But the thing though is that I think because I didn't have enough money to afford it, I wanted the Ronaldo my Mercurial boots. I was like, those were the boots I badly wanted, and everybody had them, but they were too expensive, and I couldn't have them. And I also wanted the Predators as well. But yeah, the Adoras, man, those red Adoras, man, those were the ones, man. Those were definitely the ones. All right, guys, that is the end of the questions, man. Remember again, so if you want to answer the questions, just ask me about this, and I will do my best to answer them next week. So I'll see you again, guys, in the next week. Peace out, stay true, stay black. Peace.